Hello. Hi, everybody. Opening up this beautiful avocado while I wait for a few more people to join because I just hit live. How's everyone tonight? I hope you guys are doing good. If you're out in the West Coast, it's 7 o'clock and it was a beautiful day out here today. We had some nice sunshine, which was amazing. So we're just gonna give a few, hi, okay, there's the group from Nature's Fair. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I've got a little setup here of some healthy fats, and we're gonna have a good conversation about why we need to incorporate more healthy fats into our diet, and why they're important for heart health. And just to start off, hi from Vernon. Honestly, this gets me so excited because for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Karlene Karst, and I am a nutritionist and author, founder of Delicious omega-3 fatty acids. I have spent the majority of the last 20 years of my career educating and talking about healthy fats and their importance, because I myself have had some really incredible personal experience incorporating more good fat into the diet, and I absolutely love this topic. And so like I said, for the last 20 years, I've been on the lecture circuit around the United States and Canada, and I've even talked in Asia and Europe. And so of course, this last year with no in-person events, I have missed seeing you guys in person. So like everybody, we've been pivoting and we've been adapting to continuing our education and our mission to try to bring some inspiration and some new knowledge, maybe some new cooking techniques into your home. And it's just a real pleasure to be here. I want to thank my friends over at Nature's Fair. They've always been so supportive of myself. And my question is, like, how can only eat so much avocados? Okay, we're going to talk about avocados. I'm going to show you a great way to make avocados. But Nature's Fair has just been such an amazing support and customer, client, friend over the years with my brand and with my my books, and I'm so grateful to them. So it's nice to be here tonight. And also a big thank you to my friends over at Natural Factors and Whole Earth and Sea for sponsoring the event tonight. So I want to thank you guys. So let's go ahead and get started, because I know everybody obviously has things to do. I did a talk last week on just kind of introducing heart health, and in particular talking about antioxidants and having a very rich plant-based diet full of these brightly colored fruits and vegetables, focusing a little bit in on the power of beets and foods that can help improve nitric oxide production, which we know to be so important for circulation and vasodilation, and helping to keep that endothelium lining very strong and very clear, which is one of the most important things that we can do for our heart. And because it's February, this month's focus is on heart health. And when I was talking to the team about what I wanted to speak of course, I could not talk about heart health and not talk about the power of healthy fats and the power of omega-3 fatty acids, because this has been one of my passions and one of my favorite areas to talk about in nutrition. And so I want to talk about a few things. So I'm going to show you, welcome to my kitchen, by the way. I sent my husband and my younger two kids out of the house because I was telling the girls over at Nature's Fair, Michelle and Melissa, that last week my daughter Capri, who, if you follow me on social, you know her because she makes a lot of cameos in my videos, especially on Instagram. And I think she was confused because normally I want her in the videos and I'm always like, Capri, tell everybody what kind of vitamins and what you're cooking and what you're eating. And then last Wednesday was the opposite. I was like, Capri, like, out of here. And she had gotten a whole bunch of Valentine candies from school. And so she kept coming into the video and asking if she could eat the Valentine's candies. And I was so distracted that, like, literally I couldn't even think. And all of her shenanigans, like, she was laying on the floor and like making signals and signs and like this, and like chugging back like all these heart candies. I was like, what am I even talking about tonight? So anyway, it was one of those mom moments and the joys from working from home. And I told the group at Nature's Fair, I'm like, so sorry, next week I'm gonna send my kids out so I can actually remember what it is that I wanted to chat with you about. So anyway, only one child at home tonight, my oldest, and he's supposed to be doing homework, so he won't be making any cameos. But I want to welcome to my kitchen. I have set up here. Oh, I'm glad that you like Capri. Yeah, she's a lot. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys because I know it can be a little tricky with video footage, but I wanted to bring in some of my favorite healthy fat foods that I eat pretty much every single day. I always have these available. If you guys have my cookbook, This Kitchen is for Dancing, which maybe I'll show you what that looks like. The reason you guys might have my cookbook, This Kitchen is for Dancing. The reason I like to show you this is because I always think one of the most important things is having a really well-stocked kitchen and pantry. And it really sets you up for success in terms of your food during the day. It allows you to grab quick and healthy snacks. It allows you to prepare a nutritious dinner for yourself or for your family. So having a well-stocked kitchen and pantry is actually really important. And so it's one of the things that I really like to focus on. And so if you have a copy of my cookbook, I give a very detailed list of some of the healthy foods that and staple items that you can keep in your kitchen and in your fridge. This happens to be some of the healthy fat foods that I always keep on hand. An assortment of nuts and seeds, which we'll talk about, but we've got things like these beautiful chia seeds, which are absolutely amazing. They're so nutritious. They're full of fiber and protein and omega-3 fatty acids. Last night I had mixed up a quick batch of chia pudding. So I just basically took a 1/4 cup of chia seeds, mixed it in with a can of coconut milk, added a little bit of vanilla, let it sit overnight, and it makes for such a nutritious snack. So I give lots of those kind of recipes in my cookbook. So these plant seeds are so loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, but I want to explain to you a little bit about the difference. Just first off, I wanted to show you guys some of the food that, and some of these staple items that you might want to have, an assortment of healthy oils. So we know that when we're cooking, we're most likely using some type of fat. So you want to make sure that you've got really good quality fats and oils available for when you're doing your cooking. So I always like to have a variety. So I like to have a really good coconut oil. That's what this is here. And my oldest son, Luca, was actually just eating this by the spoonful. He's like, why? Didn't realize how delicious this tastes. It is actually really delicious, and it's actually really great for your metabolism as well, because coconut oil contains medium chain triglycerides. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. It is a saturated fat, so I want to explain to you the difference in that. I love avocado oil for high heat cooking. It's just a beautiful oil, so rich in omega-9 monounsaturated fatty acids. I poured some into this little dish here, this little glass dish, so you could kind of see this beautiful green sort of oil. It smells great. It's my preferred oil for high heat cooking. It doesn't oxidize or turn rancid when you put the heat on it. So finding a really good cooking oil that will kind of go across the board is really important. Something like walnut oil is great as well, more rich in omega-3 fatty acids, but I don't like cooking with it at high heat. It's more for garnishing oils. And then of course, a classic extra virgin olive oil is always great for making salad dressings and marinades and things like that. So when we move into more supplemental oils, I'm going to chat a little bit about omega-3 fatty acids, but always making sure you have a variety and assortment of these healthy fats at your disposal. Will help to increase your healthy fats in your diet. So for the longest time, and actually when I first got into nutrition back in the 90s, I'm dating myself. I graduated as a registered dietitian in 1999. So I've been in this field for a long time, and back in the 90s was when the low-fat diet craze was the most popular kind of fad at the time. And even in university, I learned that fat is bad, that we should incorporate more fat into our diet, that butter was bad, that if you had fat in your diet, you were for sure gonna get heart disease, maybe cancer even. And it was like the low-fat diet philosophy was kind of everywhere. And back in the day, the grocery store shelves were lined with low-fat, fat-free products, everything from low-fat yogurt, low-fat milk, low-fat sour cream. Everything was labeled low fat. There were thousands upon thousands of packaged foods that were labeled as low fat. And so food manufacturers at the time did everything they could to remove fat from the food, and in turn ended up with a lot of sugar, of course, in those food products, which we know is probably one of the worst things that ever happened in our nutrition history, was this real shift away from natural foods and the shift away from foods that would naturally contain fat, like dairy products, to this low-fat phenomenon. So I was one of those people that I thought, oh, to be healthy, to be thin, which of course, I guess in your late teens and early 20s is what everybody is aspiring to do. I'm gonna get rid of all the fat in my diet. So it was like a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, little protein, because I also was misinformed as to how much protein was actually required, and basically no fat. And so I would say for a good solid time, for a good probably 5 years or so, I was eating a very, very low fat diet. And at the same time, I was also battling and dealing with an autoimmune condition. And having no fat in your diet is probably one of the worst things you can do if you've got inflammation, because we know good fats help to actually decrease inflammation in the body. So I was becoming a nutritional, what on earth is going on? I don't even really know. So between being exhausted and having brittle nails, not sleeping well at night, just feeling low energy, having a lot of pain and inflammation in my body because of my autoimmune condition, I really knew that I needed to make some serious changes in my diet. And so after graduating university, I started to work for a company back in Saskatchewan, because that's where I grew up, that manufactured essential fatty acid oils. So I became immersed in this area of healthy fats, and started to spend the majority of my days at work researching about omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And my entire world and perspective changed. I honestly would not have known that there was this much science to support having good fats in the diet. And to summarize, what I quickly learned was that your entire body, which is built of cells. Cells are built out of membranes, and membranes are built from fats. So your entire body is essentially built from fat. So I ask you to think about what happens if you take all the fat out of your diet. What is your body going to be built from? Well, it could be that you've had a diet of processed packaged food, maybe a lot of packaged food that contains high amounts of omega-6 fatty acids, which we know to be very pro-inflammatory, a high sugar diet that of course is going to contribute to inflammation and belly fat, and disrupt your blood sugar levels, and of course disrupt your energy levels and your hormones, especially for us women. So there was a lot of things that I was that was brought to light. And one of the most important things was for my own health, because I had this autoimmune condition. I really started to see some of the valuable research in incorporating more good fats, especially omega-3 fatty acids, and really trying to bring into balance that omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which in my diet in particular was very, very skewed. And so I learned that I needed to, number one, stop being so scared of having fat in my diet. And number two, looking at different foods that I could incorporate that would help to increase the level of good fats. So right away, it was like re-educating myself on what are the different types of fats. So we know we've got saturated fatty acids, and this was one of the problems, is that even as I was studying to become a dietitian, all fats were kind of grouped as the same. So it was just a general blanket category that all fats were bad, when in essence, that is not the case at all. We know that fats are created differently from one another. They do different things in our body. So we know that what we hear is all fats are bad. Well, what we know to be unhealthy for us, and remember, not one food can make or break your health or your diet. It is a combination of things that go on from lifestyle and the food you eat and the supplements you take, etc. What we know is that omega-6 fatty acids, those fats that are found in processed packaged food in particular, something known as linoleic acid. This is an omega-6 fatty acid that increases inflammation in the body. And so omega-6 fatty acids are found in all those packaged foods. All you have to do is pick up the label, take a bag of cookies as an example that you buy in the regular grocery store, and you will see under the fatty acids, you'll see linoleic acid there. That is an omega-6 fatty acid that we know increases inflammation in our diet or in our body, and we want to try to minimize that. We're supposed to have about a 4-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, but in our standard diet that we're consuming in North America, the ratio is about 25 times omega-6 to about 1 omega-3. So we've got a significantly higher amount of omega-6 fatty acids in our diet, meaning that that's also going to contribute to inflammation. And we know that inflammation has been rampant over the last, 2 decades. We've been talking about the inflammation that comes from our diet, that comes into our body, that creates chronic disease and definitely contributes to chronic disease. So too many omega-6 fatty acids. So take a look at the kind of oils you're using in your home. Things like safflower, sunflower, soybean oil in particular. Certain vegetable oils are going to be contributing probably the majority of the omega-6 fatty acids into your diet. Also take a look if you're eating a lot of red meat, if you're eating eggs, and these eggs are not organic, or the meat is not organic or grass-fed. Typically you're going to be eating then meat that has come from animals that have been fed a corn or a grain-based diet, and corn oil, as an example, has a lot of omega-6 fatty acids. So we want to make sure that you're really taking a look every single day. What kind of oils are you cooking with? If it's corn oil or vegetable oils, soybean oils, safflower, sunflower, that is a great place to start in making a switch to having a healthier type of oil that's going to have more unsaturated fatty acids present, like the monounsaturated that you find in the avocado oil. So that's the best place to start. Second of all, are you eating a high packaged or processed food diet? If you are, number one right there. So that is a big change you need to make in your diet, is the type of packaged and processed foods, and hopefully not at all. Getting back to the basics of a more whole food, plant-based diet is definitely going to serve you well, serve your heart well, and serve your, of course, your inflammatory levels, your skin, your brain, etc. Speaking of which, your brain, 60% of your brain is made out of fat. So we want to make sure we're getting all those good unsaturated fatty acids for your brain. So saturated fatty acids, so we can break them down and we can kind of categorize fats based on their level of unsaturation. So saturated fatty acids come from animal-based foods like red meat, of course, has high amounts of long-chain saturated fatty acids, dairy products, butter, etc. Although I am a fan of butter, I especially like organic grass-fed butter. When it says grass-fed, that means the cows have been allowed to graze and they feed on plants, they feed on grass and greens, which actually contributes to healthy fats in their body, which then we get. Those organic grass-fed animal products also contain high amounts of conjugated linoleic acid, which is really good for body fat and metabolism. So there's a ton of benefit there to having organic grass-fed. So you can't even lump all the saturated fats into one category. So quality of food is really important, and quality of the type of fat you're eating is also really an important consideration. We also know that, of course, coconut oil contains medium chain triglycerides. This is a type of, it contains saturated fatty acids, but again, very different. These medium chain triglycerides are sent right to your liver. They're burned for energy. They're not stored in your body. So there's been so much discrepancy on whether or not coconut oil is good for you or it's not good for you. Years ago, research was published saying, oh, if you eat too much coconut oil, you're going to get heart disease, which is not the case. And in fact, they see that people who have high amounts of coconut oil and not enough of omega-3 fatty acids or enough of the other cardioprotective fats, they will have an increased risk. But it's not specifically related to having coconut oil in the diet. So keep that in mind. I love coconut oil. I love it for medium heat cooking. I use it a lot in baking. You'll see in a lot of the recipes that I use coconut oil in them, and those medium chain triglycerides are extremely beneficial. Yeah, I see somebody says bulletproof coffee, sorry. Great to add a spoonful of coconut oil first thing in the morning. It really is amazing fuel for your brain and for your body, and it really does do a beautiful job of giving your metabolism support. That is one of the reasons why I incorporated medium chain triglycerides in with my C-licious active. So this is kind of the best of both worlds. It contains the omega-3 fatty acids plus the medium chain triglycerides. I take a tablespoon of this every single day, and it's great for metabolism. So that's your saturated fats. So remember, quality of meat, minimizing the amount of long chain saturated fatty acids. If you are eating meat, ensure that it's grass-fed, organic when you can, so you're getting higher amounts of that CLA and those really healthy nutrients. And then of course, incorporating a saturated fats like a medium chain triglyceride from coconut oil is fantastic. Then we get into the unsaturated fats. And if you're just studying chemistry or you like the chemical structure of these fats, you'll know that this is all about the double bonds in the chemical structure and how many it has. Monounsaturated, meaning it has one. Polyunsaturated, meaning it has two or more double bonds. And of course, if it's omega-3, it's at the 3 position. If it's a 6, that's at the 6. If it's a 9, it's at the 9, etc. Not that important to know, but what is kind of cool to know is that the level of unsaturation of the fat, the more unsaturation there is, so polyunsaturated, the more heart healthy it is for you, and the more healthy in general it is for your body. So as I said, our entire body is built of these cells. Cells are built out of membranes, and membranes are built from fat. The more unsaturated fats we have in our body and in our brain, the healthier we'll be, because it helps to develop a cell membrane structure that's very fluid and very flexible. It allows nutrition to be absorbed into the cell. And I always tell people, it's not what you take, it's what you absorb. So if your cell structure is not set up to absorb the nutrition, then you're not going to be able to reap the benefits of it. So one of the very first areas that I start with people is really changing the balance and the type of fatty acids that are in the diet, because this will help to improve cell membrane structure and function. And this will allow all those other amazing nutrients and foods that you're eating to be more easily absorbed into the cell structure. What's also cool is when your cell membrane structure is very fluid and very flexible, it also keeps toxins out of the cell. It improves hormone and the function of the cell in general. So it helps to make insulin more sensitive. It helps to make estrogen metabolism better. So there's all these benefits that come with having a very fluid and flexible cell membrane. If your cell membrane structure is very rigid and very hard, like it will be if you have a diet that's high in omega-6 fatty acids or processed packaged food, then your cell membrane structure becomes very, very rigid and you're not able to absorb nutrients very well. It also, based on the permeability, allows certain toxins to enter the cell, and overall, you're gonna find that you have a more difficult time metabolizing certain hormones, especially like, as an example, insulin. So really important right from a cellular level to improve the balance of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. And every time you eat, you make sure you have these healthy fats. So when we look at the monounsaturated fatty acids, so what's kind of neat is actually in before we started this, I was making dinner. If you follow me on Instagram, I was making lentil and chickpea curry, and I ran out of olive oil, and so I have a storage in the garage, and of course it's been cold, so I had a bottle of olive oil there. And because it's cold temperatures, how do you think the olive oil looked? Do you think it looked liquid, or do you think it looked slightly cloudy and solid? Slightly cloudy and solid. And it actually took a solid hour for those fatty acids to sort of melt. And that's because it is rich in monounsaturated fatty acids. So when you put olive oil into the fridge, it's gonna slightly solidify. That's one of the ways, actually, if there was no label on the oil, and I took an olive oil, I took an avocado oil, and I took a fish oil, and put them in the fridge, I would be able to tell what that oil is just from looking at the solid particles that form when they're cold. What happens to butter when refrigerated? Totally solid. That's because it's full of saturated fatty acids. What happens to coconut oil? Coconut oil is fascinating. It can, in a hot day, if it's sitting in your pantry, it can turn completely liquid, and then you put it back in the refrigerator and it turns solid. That's because of the level of saturated fatty acids in it. So you can kind of tell what is in your oil and what type of fatty acids are there based on what happens to it when you refrigerate it. So it's kind of a fun little thing to try. So the monounsaturated fatty acids, also known as omega-9 fatty acids, this is the Mediterranean diet at its finest, and we know that the Mediterranean countries, like for example, my husband was born and raised in Italy. Of course, they eat a lot of olive oil, a lot of fish, they eat a lot of tomatoes, and they have this beautiful, beautiful, real whole food diet, and it probably is, and a glass of wine every day, which that's a good thing. I adopted that part of the Mediterranean diet. So we know red wine to be very good for the heart and a lot of amazing antioxidant benefits, which we're going to talk a little bit more about after. But the Mediterranean diet, so rich and so beautiful in these monounsaturated fatty acids, really heart healthy type of diet to eat. So if you're looking for a heart health diet, one of the best ones that you can adopt is the Mediterranean diet, and incorporating olive oil into your low heat cooking, your salad dressings, your marinades, even having it by the spoonful is one of the best things that you can do for your heart. So there's a fatty acid called oleic acid, and that's one of the most beautiful heart healthy fats there is. So those are those omega-9. Those are not considered to be essential fats because your body can actually make them from other fatty acids, but they are a beautiful type of fat to get more of in your diet. So essential fatty acids, these are the omega-3s and the omega-6s, although we know we're already getting a lot of omega-6s in our diet. The term essential means that your body can't make it, so it has to ingest it. So it's one of the things that your body requires to survive and to live are fats. Back in the 1930s, they tested this theory on animals, on rats in particular, and when they removed fat from the diet, the rats actually started to die. So we need to have fat. It is essential for us. It makes our hormones, it keeps us warm. It's like the glue that holds our body together. It produces anti-inflammatory hormones called eicosanoids. So these are the most important, one of the most important classes of nutrients that you can get into your diet every day. So we talked a little bit about the unhealthy omega-6s that you want to try minimizing in your diet. When it comes to the omega-3 fatty acids, there's kind of two parts. There's the omega-3 fatty acid called alpha-linolenic acid. That's the omega-3 fatty acids that's found in plant foods. Green leafy vegetables, your Swiss chard, your kale, your nuts and seeds. So all of these seeds that I showed you earlier, the ground flax, which I actually grew up on a flax farm in Saskatchewan. My brother grew flax seeds for many, many years. He grows lentils and chickpeas, and that's where I grew up. I only moved to the West Coast to BC when I got married. But other than that, I grew up on a farm. My brother has grown, it was my father's farm back in the early days, and my brother took it over, and he's experimented with growing all kinds of beautiful oilseed crops in the prairies. Manitoba and Saskatchewan in particular grow beautiful oilseed crops because it gets cold at night. And so when it gets cold, it stresses the plant and it produces high amounts of these healthy fats. And in the case of flax seeds, omega-3 fatty acids. So I can't even recommend enough for you guys to incorporate flax seeds into your diet. Honestly, it's really easy to do. I keep all of my seeds in the refrigerator in these jars, put them in mason jars, put them in containers. You can actually freeze them if you buy them in bulk or you buy them whole and then grind them up. You can freeze them, you can put them in Ziploc bags. Keep them there, keep them visible. The more visible they are at eye level in your refrigerator, the more likely you are to incorporate them into your diet. So ground flax is one of the coolest things because you can actually make eggs, like an egg replacement for this. So a tablespoon of ground flax with 3 tablespoons of water, let it gel, and it will gel, and you can actually replace an egg with that. So flax seeds are amazing. So if they can do that and hold your muffins together, imagine what they're doing inside of your body. Not to mention all the protein. There's these phytoestrogenic compounds called lignans, which are so beneficial for women's hormones and dealing with menopausal hot flashes and preventing breast cancer. And I could go on for an hour about the benefits of ground flaxseed. Seems so simple and so trivial, but oftentimes the simplest things can also be the most difficult things to kind of just do and incorporate into our day. So one of the best tips that I can give is to put your nuts and seeds in these clear jars, put them in your refrigerator at eye level so that they're always there. When you're making muffins or smoothies or salad dressings, or if you're making a curry or a soup, honestly, add in a spoonful. If you're having yogurt, add in a spoonful, mix it in with your yogurt. It's crunchy, it's delicious. It helps to keep you feeling full because of all that fiber and all that protein and healthy fats. So good for you. So this type of omega-3 fatty acid is alpha-linolenic acid. They are considered to be essential. What's supposed to happen is they get metabolized and broken down into long-chain omega-3 fatty acids called EPA and DHA, which come in the form of fish oil. So I don't know how many of you, a few hundred of you on here now, are taking omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil. Everybody should take omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil. So let's just finish one more thing before I move on. So one of the other sources for those plant-based omega-3s, I think I mentioned the green leafy vegetables. I mentioned the chia seeds, the ground flax. Hemp seeds are amazing as well. Really, a lot of hemp seeds grown in the prairies, especially in Manitoba, produces a lot of hemp seeds. I don't know if I go a day without hemp seeds. I eat ground hemp seeds every single day. They're so good for you. Honestly, I put them in everything my kids eat. School safe, non-allergenic, rich in protein, rich in fiber, rich in these omega-3 fatty acids. Can't go wrong. Sprinkle them on top of your salads. Put them into your smoothie in the blender in the morning. Mix them in with pudding and with yogurts. Honestly, there's so many different ways. If they're visible in eye level, trust me, you're going to incorporate more of them into your diet. Okay? Nuts and seeds every day. Again, jar, pantry, or refrigerator. I use so many of them they don't turn rancid on me. But walnuts, one of the best brain food out there and available for you. Even if you had 5 or 10 a day, it's going to give you the power of these beautiful plant omega-3 fatty acids, which are not only good for your heart, but they're also good for your brain. And what's kind of cool is there's actually this theory in science that says certain foods resemble the part of the body that they benefit. And so if you take a look at a walnut, how cool is that? It kind of looks like a brain. And that's because walnuts have such amazing nutrition for brain health. So for decreasing inflammation, we know a lot of cognitive issues are related to an imbalance in those fatty acids and having too many pro-inflammatory fats. So bring on more nuts and seeds. Pumpkin seeds are also really beautiful, great to add into baked goods. They taste so good there. So those are kind of all the plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. I'm leaving the avocado on purpose till the end because I don't even know how long I've been talking, but I'm gonna wrap up soon. But I wanna show you guys how to, one of my favorite and fun ways to incorporate more avocado into the day. I eat avocados every single day, so probably one of my most classic ways is mash it up on toast at lunchtime or at breakfast because it's just easy and I work from home and I need something simple that doesn't have too many dishes and will make me feel good and make me feel full and kind of give me that energy and that push that I need to get through the day. Okay, so that's avocados. We talked about olives. I buy so many olives because my daughter, so I have 3 kids, my daughter in particular is like the little Italian eater, if you ever did see one. So in her lunch, I actually send green olives to school and she loves them so much. And then I send pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds and she's just so cute how she eats all these things. So we are a big olive eating family. And I find like with the kids, once you get them started on these things younger, the more they'll just kind of like just be into it. And they might not love it at the beginning, but then it just becomes part of their day. And so I feel like that's doing so much good for her as a 6-year-old, and all the learning and all the hard work she has to do. Okay, so couple things about omega-3 fatty acids. So I myself, this was one of probably the very first supplements that I ever started using back in the early 2000s, and it was because I was very unwell. That was actually how I got into natural health and nutrition. I was very unwell. I had an autoimmune condition. I was just over unwell. It's a whole long story. And if you read my books or if you've heard my lectures before, you know I talk a lot about it, because it's like been an epiphany, this change that I've continued to work at, and it's not been easy. Health is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you're unwell and you're not feeling as good as you want to today, know that everything you do each day will eventually get you to the place you want to go. And so keeping your eye on the prize and how you want to feel, and continual small improvements, you will just become more and more motivated to continue to make these changes. And that was exactly how I did. I mean, making a smoothie to me was like the biggest deal like 25 years ago. And now it's like, I mean, I've tried and done so many different things for my health, and I see such a significant difference in how I feel when I incorporate these foods and these lifestyle techniques into my day and into my life, that I don't ever want to go back to what I was before and to how I felt before. So it's the motivation that keeps me going. But omega-3 fatty acids were a real turning point for me, and incorporating more, I think just fat in general really got my body in gear. And I started to notice that I wasn't taking as much Advil as I had been before. This was a long time ago. And it was the power of the fats that was doing it, because they actually produce these anti-inflammatory hormones in the diet. So although the American Heart Association and research publications recommend eating 2 servings of fatty fish per week, when you're looking at using omega-3 fatty acids on a therapeutic level, especially for anything pro-inflammatory or to help bring down inflammation in the body, you definitely need to have higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids. So I spent the majority of my career formulating omega-3 fatty acid products for other brands in the industry, in the natural health industry, in particular the United States. And I knew one day I was gonna have my own brand of omega-3s, and it was just something I wanted to do. So in 2012, I started the Sealicious omega-3 brand literally from my house with two young boys. My husband could not believe that I had wanted to do this, but I was so passionate about this, and figuring out a way to deliver omega-3 fatty acids in a delicious way that was safe, that was clean, that was high quality, that everybody, whether you were 2 years old or 80 years old, could take and could love. And that's how Sealicious was born, from my own personal experience and my love for omega-3 fatty acids. So we know, of course, that fatty fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, mackerel. I mean, how many of you ate sardines and mackerel today? I'm sure everybody. We know that these type of fish contribute the highest amount of long-chain omega-3 fatty acids. They are labeled as EPA and DHA, which stand for eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, long names that in science they've just shortened to EPA and DHA. You can find out what that is by, if you have a bottle of fish oil or fish oil soft gels at home, you can take the label and you can look on it and you will see the omega-3 fatty acid content. For example, this one is the active formula, so it's a more concentrated form of omega-3 fatty acids. So it says here in each teaspoon there's 2,000 milligrams of omega-3, 1,500 of EPA, and 750 of DHA. So what those 2 fatty acids are, remember when I said ideally in the body when you eat plants, your body should metabolize those plant omega-3s into the long chain omega-3s. But due to all kinds of dietary and lifestyle factors, such as stress, diet, pharmaceutical drugs, alcohol consumption, smoking, all these different environmental factors, and you're probably all thinking, okay, great, there's no way I'll ever be able to metabolize fatty acids. It's true, it actually hampers your body's ability to metabolize fats. So bypassing your body's need to utilize this enzyme is one of the best ways. And so that's really the rationale behind taking a supplemental form of omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil specifically. It's because the value of those the EPA and the DHA is not really matched from your diet consumption. And the reason is because they're just not readily available. So we can look at plant omega-3s and those nuts and those seeds and those green leafy vegetables, which I encourage everybody to eat every day. But in order to get the EPA and the DHA, it's a lot more difficult to do that just because we're not eating fatty fish on a daily basis. I feel like we're so lucky here in the West Coast that I can go down to my local fishmonger here. I live in Port Moody, and they have the most beautiful catch every day. And then I tell my family back home in Saskatchewan, like I'm making this like wild salmon, sockeye salmon, or a pink, or a spring, or we're having halibut, and they're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Southern Saskatchewan, it's not happening. So this is one of the benefits of incorporating these supplements. And omega-3 fatty acid supplements are so powerful in rebuilding cell membrane structure, making the cell fluid and flexible, decreasing the inflammatory response. In specific to heart health risk factors, they improve vasodilation, they decrease blood clotting, they actually help to thin your blood, similar to what like an aspirin would do. Research also finds them to reduce cholesterol levels. Triglycerides is really where they shine. So there's a number of research trials that have looked at incorporating about 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids, and they reduce triglycerides by about like 20 to 40%. So some real beneficial effects in terms of your heart health. So overall, omega-3 fatty acids from fish are one of the best things that you can incorporate to provide benefit for heart health. So Celicious has a number of different options. There is the, comes in soft gels if you don't want to take a liquid. This is meant to just pour on the spoon. I'll maybe show you what that looks like, because the oil, just let me grab a spoon here. The oil is from sardines and, sorry, I lost my train of thought. The oil is from sardines and anchovies, so we know that naturally these small-bodied fish are the cleanest and they have the highest concentration of omega-3 fatty acids. So this one happens to be the active, which is a personal favorite because I love the medium chain triglycerides, and I also love the flavor, which is an orange vanilla. So when I pour this, you're gonna see, and hopefully I don't make a mess here, because it's fish oil. I can't even tell you how many shirts and things I've ruined over the 10 years of pouring omega-3 fatty acids. But it's red in color, and that comes from something called astaxanthin. So here we go. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see that? Thumbs up, hearts? Yes. Okay. That is, the red color is coming from something called astaxanthin, which is an antioxidant, the most powerful one in nature, and it comes from algae. Okay, so fish in the ocean feed on algae, and for example, things like shrimp and salmon, they eat this algae and it turns their bodies red because it's giving them a lot of astaxanthin, it's giving them a lot of protection. So basically I needed to protect the omega-3 fatty acids because they're polyunsaturated. They when they're exposed to light or air or temperature changes, they start to oxidize and they'll turn rancid. Okay, so that's one of the things we always got to be cautious with our oils. So you need to put an antioxidant in it, especially with omega-3s in a bottle. So that's one of the reasons why they're in this dark glass amber bottle. It's to protect from the light exposure so the oils don't oxidize. But in addition to that, you need to have antioxidants. Remember, antioxidants, remember what that word even means, antioxidant. So oxidants are things like free radicals that basically cause your cells to oxidize, and we know that it increases your risk of heart disease among other types of conditions. So we know free radical cell damage is one of the most biggest contributors to heart disease, and it comes from environmental factors from our diet, too much stress, too much processed food, too many unhealthy fats in the diet. So you need to protect it. So the more antioxidants you bring into your diet, this can come from vitamin C and vitamin E and taking a good multivitamin, eating brightly colored fruits and vegetables, having more berries in your diet. These are all natural antioxidants that we get in our diet. So in the fish oil, I'm not going to put berries in there, of course. I wanted to put this astaxanthin, this beautiful antioxidant. So that's what's making the color red. So when I take this big tablespoonful, I'm getting honestly like 5,000-6,000 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids, which it's delicious. That's all I need. That's more than enough fatty acids. I take a lot. And that's because of my having an autoimmune condition that I just control completely through diet and lifestyle, so no pharmaceuticals. So I need to have as many natural anti-inflammatories that I can in my day. So that is kind of, in a nutshell, the difference between omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. The more good fats you can get in your diet, you can't really get too much. Ideally, we want to aim for about 1,500 milligrams of omega-3 per day. So that would be about a teaspoon of Celicious a day. This was the first product that I developed. It's the raspberry lemonade flavor, which is still to this day our #1 seller. And this, you're going to get 1 teaspoonful is 1,500 milligrams. That's your daily dose there. I also have one for kids. My kids have been taking omega-3 fatty acids since they were 2 years old. So super, super safe. And something I highly recommend everybody to do. So one of the things I wanted to show you, because I was just working on this new recipe, I'm recipe testing for my next cookbook. And of course, I always look at ways to get more, sorry, can you guys see here? More whole foods and healthy fats into the diet. And kind of, sorry, you guys can't even see here. In kind of fun and delicious ways. And so I love avocado. Like I said, there's not a day really that goes by that I don't eat avocado. And I thought, how fun. I'm sure you guys have seen like chocolate avocado puddings before. So I wanted to show you how to incorporate or how to make that. So I will share this recipe on my blog tomorrow morning when I'm finished. But it's basically a cacao avocado chocolate pudding or chocolate mousse. Tastes so delicious. Honestly, you won't even believe that it's from avocado. And so again, those avocados are those monounsaturated, omega-9, so beautiful for skin, so beautiful for skin. Mental clarity, energy, your nails, it's so great at working at the cellular level. So eating a half or a full avocado a day is honestly such a great thing to do and such a great and delicious way to get more good fats into your diet. So what I'm gonna do is I have my ancient food processor that I actually got for a grade 12 graduation gift, if you can imagine. And it's still working. They don't make appliances like that anymore. So what I'm gonna do is I want to sweeten it a little bit, and so I soaked these pitted dates. Dates are a really great natural sweetener, so if you're trying to watch your refined sugar, dates is a really good way to sweeten your whatever it is you're making, your baked goods or puddings, etc., cereals, oatmeal, etc. Chopping them up tastes so good. And so when I'm gonna grind them in the food processor, I like to give them a little soak, so I put them in a little bit of water. I'm gonna add that to my small bowl of my food processor here. Then I cut this open about, what was that, probably a half an hour ago, so it's starting to brown, because even though avocados are good for you, there's no antioxidants, and that's how you can tell that it's starting to brown. So we know avocados brown when they're left exposed to the air. That's a really great way to actually visualize what an antioxidant is doing. So we know that if we're taking antioxidants in our body, we're not gonna get the browning. So we wanna prevent the browning. We wanna prevent the browning of the cells. So more antioxidants, the better. I'm gonna pair this with cacao. And so cacao, not to be confused with chocolate, very different in terms of the benefits it gives to you. So this is a raw cacao powder. If you've not tried it, I recommend it, but don't be thinking that it's going to taste like chocolate, because it's obviously a lot more bitter. Cacao powder is basically when the cacao beans are harvested, it's fermented, and it's not basically processed. It is what the biggest difference is from like a regular cocoa powder. So cacao powder, raw, delicious, full of antioxidants, fiber, minerals, vitamins, and did I mention antioxidants? So good for you. And cacao powder is just such an incredible way to get more antioxidants into your diet. And so by mixing it in with the avocado, we'll actually do a couple things. Number one, makes it chocolatey delicious. I'm gonna also sweeten it with a little bit of maple syrup, but it also protects those avocado and those monounsaturates from oxidizing, which is important. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoop out the avocado. I'm going to use 1 avocado. This doesn't last long, so you could double it for sure. Use 2 avocados depending on how many people you're making it for. I'm going to pop this into the food processor here. I'm gonna just take this pit out of this one and scoop it into here. All right, and then I'm gonna take a couple tablespoons of raw cacao powder. I would show you the bag. I know they carry cacao powder at Nature's Fair, but I store everything in these glass jars, so I don't actually have the packaging. So I love it with a lot of cacao. I don't mind the bitterness. Remember, it's bitter, but I love it. So I'm gonna put 2 generous tablespoons of cacao powder into there. And I'm gonna put a dash of vanilla because I think vanilla gives it just like a really nice, it helps to kind of mellow it out a little bit. So I'm gonna put a nice little glug of vanilla. I'm also gonna, hold on because I forgot to get it, I'm gonna add some maple syrup. So, I'm coming. All right, so I'm going to put, let's see here. I don't know, I'm not gonna measure. My kids love maple syrup. Maybe 2 tablespoons. Maybe as much as the cacao. Maybe equal it to the cacao. Okay? You could also put like a pinch of pink sea salt or regular sea salt, and you could pop that into the blender as well, or into your food processor. You could also do this in a blender. Sorry, I'm just looking for my lid. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix this up. I don't even have so creamy and delicious. I'm just gonna scrape this down. Might need a couple pulses to kind of break up those dates. But this is such a beautiful heart-healthy snack. I love to top it with berries to get even more antioxidants. Blackberries and raspberries. So let's give that a pulse. All right, if you want to thin it out a little bit, you could go ahead and add a little bit of coconut milk or another plant milk like an almond milk or something like that. So delicious. That's literally all it takes. So I'm going to remove the blade. Pop that into the sink. I'll do the dishes later. And there you go. That is literally it. Now, what I also like to do, it's kind of like a mousse texture. You could make it thinner or runnier, like I said, by using the plant milk. Now what I like to do is I love to, just a sec, wash my hands. One of the other things I like to do is I like to, with this, especially the kids love this. I'll often make this as a snack. You see how easy this takes, it's like 5 minutes. Take some nice vegan chocolate chips. Anytime you're using chocolate, the darker the better, because obviously it's giving you a lot less sugar. So always just be aware of the added sugar. Chocolate is not bad for you. It's what gets added into it. So the less processed and the less sugar, the better. So you're gonna take the chocolate chips and stir it in with it. I also love cacao nibs, which if you've not tried raw cacao nibs, they're also amazing for you. Again, more bitter, but super delish, so good for you. And I just put a spoonful of cacao nibs in there. And that is it. And you have yourself the most delicious chocolate avocado pudding. So heart healthy, full of antioxidants, full of healthy fats, super delicious for you. I would right now top this with berries, with some shredded coconut. And remember, every time you eat, make sure you've got healthy fats on your plate. And I can't think of a more delicious way to have your cake and eat it too. And get more omega-9 and avocados into your diet. So that is my chat tonight on fats and healthy fats. I could talk all night on this topic and show you guys fun ways to incorporate more good fats into the diet. But if you have any questions, I'm sorry I have not been following so closely the comments, but thank you for sharing them. If you have any burning questions that you wanted to ask, you can ask them now. You can DM them over to Nature's Fair. You can check out my blog, karlenekarst.com. Find me on social, on, of course, Instagram and Facebook. And I want to thank you for support and say you guys are super lucky to get to shop in Nature's Fair because they have everything and they're amazing and have super knowledgeable staff. So everybody stay warm, stay well. Spring is coming. I promise. And it's going to feel so good. We deserve it. Okay, everybody, stay healthy. Thanks for following tonight.